family are from Alabama. I was wondering what you think is the biggest issue in America as well as the issue in the Middle East.
Well, that's a big question. Well, let me start it with the Middle East, because I think that the biggest issue in the Middle East is finding ways for people from various cultures, religions, and backgrounds to live together. It's not an easy thing to do, and this is a problem that's been going on for many, many years. I'm quite optimistic that it's going to happen, and one of the reasons I'm optimistic is because of young people like you. I think there's a different spirit among young people in the world today, and there is a spirit of engagement. Part of it is really technology. You know, you're able to communicate with other young people around the world, but I do think that that's the biggest problem. But my feeling is that that problem is indeed going to be solved. In the United States, what's the biggest problem? Well, I spent a lot of my lifetime as an economic journalist, and I do think that the United States, as well as other countries, are facing some difficult economic problems. We live in a new kind of world, and solving those problems is tough, and what's especially tough really is an almost intractable problem so far, which is how to get everyone to share in the benefits of prosperity. So, you know, if I were a young person today, that's one of the, and I wanted to focus on domestic issues in the United States, that's where I would be focusing. I'd be studying economics, studying history, and trying to find ways so that everyone can participate in the prosperity that the United States and much of the rest of the world has been enjoying.
My question is, what efforts do you think are still necessary for people like Americans here to break down their prejudice against people in the Arab world?
Well, Natalia, thank you for that question. In fact, I was in Dubai in December, and it was an amazing experience. I went to the mall with the ski slope in the middle of it, and you know, just to think of what Dubai was like. Well, I guess it was before you were born, but you go back 20 years ago, and it's amazing what the people of that country have done in such a short period of time. It really is spectacular. So I commend you for that. You know, Americans are a good and compassionate people. I believe that, and I think when you meet Americans, you will. I hope you'll come to the same conclusion. But the United States is a big country, and for much of its history, Americans have looked inward. They haven't associated with the rest of the world the way, let's say, that Europeans have. And as a result, I think that our understanding of other cultures and other people is somewhat deficient. That's not true of all Americans, obviously. And of course, America is a nation of immigrants, so we get to know other people through immigration. But until fairly recently, the patterns of immigration have been fairly static. Now we're seeing people from many, many more countries come to the United States. So I think that Americans need to make a real effort to understand other people. And I think understanding of people in Arab communities and Muslim communities that are not Arab as well is not where it should be. I've been reading a history book by Michael Oren called Power, Faith, and Fantasy, which is a history of America's relations with the Middle East, starting in the late 18th century. And it is essentially a history that involves mythology. And even the Americans who went to the Middle East in early times, which for us was the 18th century, maybe the early 19th century, had a almost mythological, not an accurate view of the people there. So I just think we need to make a more diligent effort. And one of the things I can say, however, is that I think in the last 7 or 8 years especially, Americans have made that effort. I mean, if you just go online to Amazon and see the number of books that have come out on the Middle East, or books you know, Americans want to understand the Muslim religion. I think that's absolutely true. Now, when you see some of our popular culture, frankly, I'm not very happy with it, with the depiction of Arabs and Muslims and in a lot of what we see on television or in the movies. But I do believe that's changing, and I think Americans are really earnest, they're good-hearted people, and they'll do a better job of understanding. But you ask a very important question. Thank you.
I'm Dina from Jordan, and my question is somehow related, but His Majesty King Abdullah is working very hard toward peace between Israelis and Palestinians. I have heard a lot from His Majesty about what Jordan is working on. Can you tell us more about what America's role in the peace process is, and when do you think peace will take? And when do you think there will be peace between Israelis and Palestinians? Thank you.
Well, first, I want to congratulate King Abdullah on what he is doing, and I think that peace in this region is not going to come about simply through American pressure or American intervention. It needs to be a regional peace in which not just the two parties, not just the Palestinians and the Israelis, but the nations around them participate and support and shore up the agreement. So that's why it's so heartening to see the constructive efforts that King Abdullah is doing, and others in other countries. I just want to single the king out. When do I think peace will come? You know, I don't think anyone's a very good predictor when it comes to that. I really do believe, however, that sometime before the end of this year, there will be a breakthrough that I think will lead eventually to peace. And by peace, I mean the establishment of a secure Palestinian state.
Yeah, sadly, we don't have like independent controls for the mics, so.
I really do believe that will happen. I don't say that with special knowledge. I say that because what I see is determination and constructive activities in the region by leaders, and I see a desire on the part of Palestinians and Israelis, most of them, not all of them, not all Palestinians, not all Israelis, but the vast majority, to make the kinds of compromises that are necessary for peace. And so I am optimistic. Thank you for your question.
As you can see, the United States public diplomacy could not be in better hands. Thank you so much.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you. This has been the most exciting part of my day. I appreciate it.